Hi, good evening, everyone. Yeah, it's sometimes difficult to be at the end of the show and still have an engaged audience, but I hope uh, that the steam is still there. Is everyone still alive? Happy? Great, because we have a very interesting subject here. Everyone loves Bollywood, everyone loves sports, both merged together on the stage. So I hope it's going to be interesting and dramatic as sports and Bollywood always is. Before I start, I just wanted to talk about sports because that got missed out. Why I am talking about sports here is I am a third degree black belt martial artist with 16 years in MMA fighting. I'm also a national level badminton player and yeah, an Everest mountaineer. So while we spoke about corporate part, I just wanted to, to clarify why I'm here on the stage. With that note, I want to ask you, Raghav. I think now the Indian public as well as the industry, everyone is overwhelmed by the word AI. What will happen? So a lot has happened. Let's first just, I want to hear some has happened, some we just hear that, it's happening. So in reality, where is the media industry, the Bollywood already there in terms of application of AI?
Thank you, Dr. Seema. So, entertainment is at the core of our daily identity. It is akin to food, it is akin to water, it is an essential need, human need in today's day and age. AI is shaping this industry, AI is shaping filmmaking as a process in a manner in which technology has always shaped this. Filmmaking has been born out of technology. The most innovative filmmakers are science-led, innovation-led, whether it is S.S. Rajamouli sir, whether it is James Cameron, or all the way back to the genesis of films where trickstery and magic was a part of filmmaking at the start. Anyway, coming to AI now, as of this morning, OpenAI has shut down Sora, which was their prompt-led video generating platform, and they have created Engine, a camera. What that signals is, camera is the medium with which films have been made and will continue to be made. Prompt will not replace camera. One of the leading AI firms has made this statement by introducing this camera, that camera is needed for filmmaking. Prompts will supplement it, will enable it to a greater degree. So I personally look at AI as a great enabler to reduce cost, as a great enabler to reduce timelines, to make filmmaking less complex and more vision driven. Better visions can be realized faster and with more accuracy on screen with the tools that AI is generating.
That's very, I think probably relieving for, the entire Bollywood industry, because a lot of buzz around, is it all going to be machines, So good to hear that. And, because you're talking about cameras will still be there. Is there a sort of fear among the people, and to what extent do you think, because there are some people who feel, okay, this job will not be there in the film industry, will actors be replaced, will directors be replaced, yes, maybe technicians may be replaced. So what is your view on that? How much of replacement is already happening or will happen?
So a lot of tech stalwarts have said it in multiple industries for multiple genres. The threat is not being replaced. The threat is that if you don't adapt to AI, if you don't upgrade yourself to be AI driven, how cinematography is done, how editing is done, how costume design is done will continue to happen. They are essential art forms related to film, but they will be AI led. So if you're a technician, you have to learn AI faster. You have to understand how your individual discipline is getting affected by AI. But filmmaking is not for AI, it is for humans. So the human element will never be subtracted. Vision is something that will still have human ingenuity to it. So I don't think, and even writing for that matter, the genesis of a story, even if it is a single line that you have to feed to a prompt, it will be done. And the final assessment. Today, we all can go on a basic AI prompt platform and say, write me a script about a gangster film that mirrors Godfather, that mirrors Satya. You will get a script. But who's assessing whether it reads correct or further corrections it needs? How many draft of reiterations does it need before it is ready to be made? So the human judgment cannot be subtracted, at least right now.
I can kind of relate it to even sports. So, the classic sports journey is that for an athlete, it's his or her own practice, his own upgrade, his own performance building. Then there is performance of the team which happens on the ground, team or individual, which is the actual play which happens. And finally, the experience for the audience, which is the entertainment part of it, which is similar to what happens in Bollywood. Now, there is already work happening on all the three aspects, that when we talk about the individual athlete preparation, a large part of athlete performance or their records depend on how much time they are on field and healing injury, because injury is inherent part of being an athlete. And that's where today AI is playing a very important role. In fact, there are companies which are making tools specifically for taking the video of the person or the athlete, and that movement is measured to the extent that if there is 2° more movement of knee in a certain angle, there will be injury eventually. Or there is a shoulder movement which is happening more than a certain angle for a bowler, it will eventually lead to injury. So that kind of analytics is being used to make sure the injuries don't happen, which is a very good movement in terms of athlete preparation. Then we talk about the actual play, which is the gaming part. I mean, I wouldn't call gaming, but the game actually being played, where before the game is played, I mean, there was a time when I used to compete in competitions. We used to not have recordings, because I'm talking about 25 years prior. We would just know, we would talk to the person who has competed against the athlete, that what kind of style the person has. I'm talking about badminton, that the person generally does drop shots. He does do a lot of flicks. The person generally does a lot of rallies and then suddenly smash. So watch out, when you're in the rally, there will be a smash. So things like this. Then came the time when we would have recordings of the players, and then people would watch, okay, this is generally the person looks for a drop shot on the left side or the right side. I mean, you're asking the person to play on the rear or the lead. Now has come the time when, because you would have AI, the tool itself would tell you that these are your strengths, these are your opponent's strengths, and these are the areas where you will lose points, these are the areas you can win points. So play this way. So in strategy planning, there is a lot of work happening. And of course, the gaming, we have already seen in cricket, because that's the most watched sport in India, that the kind of analysis which happens at ball-to-ball, over-to-over level, the same thing is being done. Now there are companies which do analytics of games and publishes it online already before the game actually happens. So all the people, I don't know if the betting industry will benefit or the actual players or the audience will benefit, but there is analytics given. So a lot of psychological play around the game is already happening before the game. So that's, I can sort of relate to it.
So I have a follow-up question to this.
Yeah.
As a sports enthusiast, I understand how AI could impact positively performance, recovery, data analytics, all off-field largely. Do you think AI will actively play on-field role as well in multiple sports?
In fact, I'm talking more about the formats which are long formats, where strategy on the field makes a lot of difference. In fact, even, I don't know how many of you really watch MMA, but if you talk to any MMA coach, they would say it's the hands and legs on the field, but the brain is outside. The coach which is guiding, okay, do this, do that, because after every round, when the bell rings, 7, 8 rounds, depending on the format, 5 to 7 to 10 rounds, there is always strategy change which happens. Some people tire out the opponent. Some people would go with early knockout because that's their style. Now, when there is the strategy part they are talking about on field, while coach is there, but coach is also a human with his or her own biases against that opponent, with that opponent, and with the athlete, his own sports person as well. Plus, there is a tendency, I don't see any knockouts happening with the kick. I don't see any knockouts happening with the roundhouse kicks. Mostly it happens after the person is taken on the ground and the sit-and hit happens. While the reality may be different. It's the person's experience. The person doesn't have the experience of the entire world, right? So from that aspect, on field strategy, being more logical and removing the coach's bias, that's actually the application. If you talk about the flip side of it, if there is data inequality between the two people, then,
whoever has better access to better systems
yes,
will stand leverage.
Correct. So, I mean, I can say the coach would only say, hit harder, go stronger. The tool would actually say, go to the right side, 330-degree angle and hook from there because the person has a blind spot there. It would be as accurate as that, right?
So hypothetically, do you think there will be a time where there would be AI glasses along with the earpiece enabled, and as a badminton player, it will prompt you that, smash incoming, and you could prepare to pick it up?
From practice aspect, yes. In fact, there are already some of the, I would say, gadgets or practice equipments which have this part to it, which helps in practice. But if you talk about real game, that would always be athletes' own ability. Like you said, in Bollywood, there is a creative part to it. Because yes, machine or analytics can tell you what is the right thing to do. There would be a time you may be in pain, you may be in your own stress, you may be going through a bad form at that time, and you're overcoming and doing that. That's the human aspect or human willpower aspect. That will always stay. But of course, in practice, what is the right thing to do? That part is already, in progress. I won't be surprised it will come out soon. But in some of the games, that's, having a screen, like in boxing, there is already a prompt which keeps giving you punch here, punch there. So for reflex building, etc., that's already there. I want to ask something again, follow up around this, that the creative part to it, how much do you think that in future, if you had to give I wouldn't say a percentage, but the creative element versus the machine element, how do you foresee this going for media or content in future?
See, there are the two endpoints will largely be human control for the foreseeable future, which is the genesis of the start of your process, whether it is an idea that comes to you. Even if you have to seek an idea using AI, you will be asking that question. And that question needs to be very refined, what you're looking for, why you're looking for. So the conceptual part of the filmmaking will be human driven, and the final judgment and assessment will also be human driven. Everything else in the middle, AI will have a positive and an enabling role for. So there will be writers, like I'll tell you very openly, a lot of writers, and I will not exclude myself, you write your first draft, you feed it to AI, and if your prompt is clear that this is the corrective measure I want, it will give you your third draft back. It will do 2 drafts of work, rework for you. From third to the final, you still have to take it.
Yeah.
And the first was always written by you.
In the same vein, there was another discussion where we spoke about Ravanas of AI. In Bollywood or media industry, what Ravana or the side effects of AI do you foresee?
So, all of us may be aware that a few years back there was a big strike in Hollywood. One of the reasons for that strike was that you were hiring day actors whose daily job is to appear on sets as extras, as crowd, and get paid nominally to run their lives. And large companies were trying to hire them for a few days or maybe make them sign agreements where their motion, their likeness could be captured in perpetuity. In a way, replacing them permanently. Yeah. Plus, I think a large part of concern remains, and I think my friend Priyanka, who's sitting in the background, will have a greater say in this at some point, is machine AI learning is based on copyright material. Is there accountability to pay for that learning? Because you are basing all the machine learning based on people's original creative work. And that is still a gray area right now.
Right. And whoever is feeding doesn't even know that it's being used. Right. In fact, in the same vein, the data part which is being used to train the tools coming from athletes, that after this particular angle when things happen, injuries do occur. Now, athletes don't know that their data is being used. Same thing, a lot of athletes load data is loaded on AI tools so that it can predict when the injuries would occur. And, it's about their health report. It's very personal. Data privacy issues exist for everything, including our bank account. So, that's even more personal. That data is being used to train. It is being used to train the model, which will train a larger segment of athletes itself, and their own data is also. So, yeah, I can sort of resonate with that. With that note, do you see, with all of this put together, there is ethical part to it, there is people's livelihood part to it. If you were to envisage that this is how it should play, with ethics being, rightly played out, where do you see, or do you see any good examples that this is how a good example of AI while there is a good application, there are people who are feeding data, but we are not really doing injustice to anything. Do you want to quote something around that?
So it is at a nascent stage that AI adaptation is happening within the industry, adoption is happening within the industry, and AI is developing at a rapid scale, where I talk to a lot of peers of mine who are studio owners, who are running VFX companies. Right now there is hesitation for large term investment into AI, because you never know how soon will that investment be outdated. So in terms of a positive example would be that there is transparency and declaration that AI has been used in VFX, etc. So when it's peer-to-peer B2B conversation, there is clarity that we are using replacing some traditional methods of VFX, visual effects creation, with faster AI-driven methods. We see it on social media. A lot of short-form content is completely AI generated, but it is nowhere in comparison to what human filmmaking still looks like. I'll give you another example. Just because photography was invented and it's existed for almost 200 years now, a little over 200 years, painting never went out of vogue. So the human element of filmmaking is not going out of vogue. We are just getting new tools to make films, and I'm personally very excited about it.
Coming to the sports part to it, I can see one good thing which is happening is it is making the very personalized coaching, which is available to only elite athletes, coming to people who are not able to afford it. If I can have a show of hands, how many of you count your steps every day? Okay, so there is already set of people who are not elite athletes, I may assume, still have access to AI and are using in some way or the other. And of course, it goes to the extent of your sleep quality, your breathing quality, your heartbeat, your blood pressure, etc., etc. That is health aspect, but the same thing applied to your fitness is also coming into play. So which I find is very good, because the fact is, like, India is such a large country. If you talk about athletes being, most of the top notch come from the big metros, right? But there are good players sitting in smaller towns as well. Can they get that personalized coaching? So there are, like I said, apps which can watch your video and then give feedback, what is to be corrected, what is not to be corrected. There is one tool which we are working on, which is, so if a lot of selections for competitions happen, the coach would go, there would be Ranji kind of competition happening in a local, state or district level, and they would say, isko lena, nahi lena, etc. Now we are trying to make a tool for, filtration basis the person's inherent body type. For example, there are inherent advantages of a certain body type in certain sport that implemented at school level, so that students can go in that particular sport, and they don't have to compete with people who are better built and may have an inherent advantage, which I see again would make sure that people take up the right sport and are trained in the right direction from the early stage.
That's a fascinating insight, because what you're saying is that through AI analytics,
Yes.
inherent qualities, your inherent strengths will guide you towards the right sport.
Correct. And that is already work in progress in India, and so the intent, in fact, just to tell the larger audience, is to bring people from tier 3, 4, 5 cities come to foray, and that will come in the front when we are able to filter them out. And that filtering, if left to the local PT teacher, will be very biased. So we are trying to make it data driven.
You exactly touched upon the word I was referring to, will it eliminate human bias at an early level? You'll be able to identify and spot prodigies?
Yes, that's the idea. And once you start with that, in fact, one more aspect to it is today, again, coaching is a very subjective art. Like one coach sitting in Jharkhand versus one coach for the same cricket game will be very different from one sitting in Bangalore. Even the coaching aspect can be standardized. When you have, okay, this is, when the feedback is data driven, then the coaching bias will be removed. So that's a good part of it, like, where otherwise it used to be very specialized, a particular kind of person would get that training. But that I see is a very good aspect of bringing, in a way, democratizing the entire, athletic field. And fitness is already getting democratized with more and more people knowing what is their step count, what is their sleep quality, what is their food quality, calorie count. I mean, we don't need a nutritionist today to tell us whether we are eating well, and it's there on everybody's, phone. So with that note, what I can conclude from here is, when there are some massive applications, and I can see, in fact, I wanted to ask you that, do you think AI being there and the content, a large part of labor part, just editing, etc., being done by machines, smaller filmmakers have a better chance as Bollywood?
I don't think that there is a discrepancy right now. There is a great equality that's coming in, enabled by AI, right from your comfort, the comfort of your home. You could be making a film, that's a reality today. But eventually, when you're looking at commercial entertainment, it is run like business. So you need to be in the ecosystem. What AI can do is it can get you into the ecosystem. If you're able to prove your storytelling abilities while sitting at home, which just 10 years ago was not possible, you still needed a lot of support to make even a short film. Today you can do it at home, and then your chances of getting recognition are far higher.
So, okay, can I say that with low investment you can try your ideas, and if you have good ideas it will work?
Yeah, that could be a good way to say it, and otherwise breaking through the industry becomes easier.
Right.
Driven content with the full disclosure would become like a parallel cinema.
Yes, so there is a leading streaming platform. They've launched a mythological series that's entirely AI based. And AI driven content, I feel, will find its niche. But what it is, according to me, going to do is it will replace traditional methods which have existed for 2-3 decades right now, which were also innovative back in the day. Like, film cameras were replaced by digital cameras. Nobody is missing film anymore. It's become a matter of convenience. So I think where AI is headed, and that's a great opportunity, is that actors will be ageless and immortal. Story writing will be much more proficient. Feedback internal, because filmmaking is not an isolated job. It is a group effort. And a lot of people who are sitting in studios, their effort is to give qualitative feedback to stories before they are being made. That feedback will be data driven, AI driven, and that will be enhanced quite a bit. But the human part will not be taken away. Like animation, for that matter, has no on-screen human involvement except for the voice. But it is a niche genre. So AI will sit somewhere close to that animation where nothing will be reflecting of real human input, but it will still be made by humans.
Long time ago, Arindam Chaudhary tried this, right? You would be aware, which was a data-driven decision about what kind of movies will click, what actors are popular. He made a movie called Rok Sako To Rok Lo, right? Completely data-driven movie. Marketing, kind of identification of the market, the genre, like what people really want to see, all the surveys, everything was data-driven, and it bombed, right? So every time, and I'm saying pretty much against to what we are discussing here in terms of agenda, but do you think like this data-driven approach, especially in creative field, is going to kind of suck the soul at some point in time, and that is the reason you need human in the loop?
No,
all the time?
because you already touched upon the answer with a single word, and the answer is soul. Storytelling comes from the soul. If you don't believe it, it's not a lived experience, if it's not the most important burning passion for you, chances are it will not work. It has to be passion driven. It is a passion driven medium. Data can only enable that passion, can't create it for us.
So my question is like, as we see AI is progressing into the world, so we see what we are today. 5 years we will be a lot more optimized, and one day we will reach to the optimized level, because whatever the best version available on the earth is the human, and soon we will be having this. So at that point of time in future, how do you see human and AI together, and what will be the role of human and what will be AI doing?
I think when one part, in fact, I wanted to take up from the previous question also, that you fed something in data, it worked, didn't work, and there is a algorithm is something which is iterative, and iteration will keep happening as long as the variables, the external environment variables keep changing. So if I were to take an example of, let's say, supply chain, I'm a supply chain professional, so I can take that example. Today we have, AV company would have a huge supply chain team talking about, okay, when the Strait of Hormuz will open, not open, will the containers be allowed someday? If not, then what route is being taken, how much cost, etc., etc. Now, okay, let's say it is all optimized. There is a tool which is monitoring, which is telling you which route to take, etc. But the fact is, today Hormuz is shut, tomorrow something else will be shut. And we have seen that in last 4 years. And to keep it abreast with the, what is the new logic? Okay, the logic when Suez Canal was shut, okay, was just find a cheaper route through Cape of Good Hope, etc. till Suez opens. It opened, never opened. I mean, that's history. New route issue happened, and then came, okay, we still find another route, but maybe time is also an issue. Finally, now no time, no money, just get the product moving, right? Tomorrow there would be a war zone, and another problem would happen, that you have to first get the essentials moved, then move everything else. If India also participates in the war, forget everything, we have to get the weapons moving, then move everything else. So your iteration will keep changing, right? Because the world is like that. So while we feel that, the tool has learnt everything, it will, just like we as humans, while I'm worked in supply chain for last 20 years, and every time I felt I have arrived, a new thing came up. And just like I as a human being had to evolve, the machine will also need to be evolving. And that evolution will happen through human beings. It will not evolve on its own. So I think that role will always play. I never felt, in supply chain, we have got the algorithm right every time, despite a simple, order planning, which is take average of last 3 years, add recency bias of last 6 months, then add more recency of 3 months. Still, it kept failing, and we had to keep repeating. That will continue.
And to answer your question, slightly detached on a more lighter note, there has been multiple science fiction films, novels that have spoken about AI taking over. So I think as long as AI remains subservient, as long as it doesn't identify itself as a superior species, it is going to remain a tool. I think the concern largely, the fright is that is a cliff we will have to jump on one day.
You said you are Everester, right? How does it look? Like how the world looks? How did it feel when you reached at the top? I keep dreaming about doing that one day. Not the Everest, just the base camp, right? So how did it feel?
I've done the base camp. Sorry to clarify, but I have done base camp. But nevertheless, I thought when I was climbing that I would feel like I'm top of the world when I reached there. But when I reached there, I was only counting how many breaths I have taken, and I'm out of oxygen throughout. The euphoria was only lasted till the time that photo was clicked. Everyone is smiled, forcefully that yeah, we have reached. But having said that, I think the real kick comes after you come back. When the oxygen starts reaching your brain again, when the blood starts flowing again, you start thinking and feel. For that duration, it was a 18-day, trek going up and coming down. For those 18 days, only thing that meant for me was whether I have had enough water, whether I have walked enough up and down, because you have to acclimatize, whether I'm breathing well, whether I'm sleeping well, am I getting a headache, because that's the onset of, sickness, whether I'm feeling nausea, because that is onset of another sickness, and if my hands and legs are feeling well. Nothing else mattered for those 18 days. And I think when I came back, just the pleasure of walking, because there you have to walk with your rucksack, which is quite heavy. Just the pleasure that there are no uphills there's no extreme cold. There is so much oxygen despite, no really, I remember I came back, I was like, there's so much oxygen here. And everything is plain, you don't have to climb everything and nothing is on my back. I stopped taking auto for a while. I was like, why? Just walk it up. And my friends hated me for this. I was like, it's just straight walk. What's the problem? Just walk it up. So I think the real kick comes after you come back. You feel life is so much easier. We don't realize it because there are people who live that kind of life every day, especially the Sherpas who go with you. So I would say that's the feeling which I had after I came back. I felt blessed.
Right? People are talking about, like, especially in the movie industry, right? Like there would be characters, but they would be they would not be real characters or heroines. They would be like all AI generated characters. What do you think? How far are we from there, or will that scenario be there?
We are already there. AI generated characters are very much reality. They are able to mimic human expression and movements quite incredibly. But actors are not just actors, they are stars. They have massive following. They are childhood heroes, they are teenage crush. So that human element has to remain. Stardom is not going to be AI driven. Stardom will remain stardom. I think what's going to happen is that, like I mentioned, that stars and actors will find longevity beyond their physical life, because they are going to, a lot of prominent actors have already started this. They are capturing and patenting their likeness. So tomorrow, as a filmmaker, a star, a legendary star may not be around today, but you can get their life rights and get them to act in your film. So that way, like why won't any of us want to watch Dilip Saab on screen again, or a Marlon Brando film? And I think that moment is just less than 5 years away. Where, to add to that, I think where it will, and it's already happening. When you watch a war movie and you see tens of thousands of soldiers, while we are filming, there are no tens of thousands of people. There are probably 500 people who you've used in multiple sets over a day to create that illusion that there are 10,000 people. That replication is already happening. That's already a part of filmmaking right now.